everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of How to Graphic Design. I'm your host, Kladi, and I'm streaming from Manchester, UK. As you can probably get it from the accent, I'm actually Italian, so you get a bit of a mix of Italian and English. Welcome everybody from anywhere in the chat. Actually, let me know, where are you watching from? I'm always super excited to learn about our international community. So I want to say a quick hello to the people that are already tuned in. Carol, Biola, D, Steve, what's up? Steve, did you change your profile image? I can see some familiar faces, but also some new. Wade, lovely to see you. Cody, Joshua, thank you so much everybody for watching and for tuning in. If you're watching from YouTube, don't forget to tune in also on behance.net/live. That is the chat that I'm currently reading, but all this wonderful stream here at Adobe Live are always available for replay on the brand new Adobe Live YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe in order to sharpen your skills, learn new techniques, and chill with this wonderful creative community here at Adobe Live. As I always say, this is a safe space to have fun while learning how to create your favorite pieces of art using the wonderful Adobe apps. Today, in particular, in this specific episode of How To, we're gonna learn how to create a pattern. Let me know in the chat if you're excited. Let me know if you have a specific pattern, because we're gonna be having some fun and create many different ones. Here is a little bit cold in Manchester. As you can see already, it's time for a sweater. I'm already wearing some winter clothing. I turned on the heating for the first time this year. So welcome everybody. I think it is time. Clever is saying I saw Kladi on a boat. Yes. Let me go back into that in just a second. First of all, let me jump into my screen real quick. I want to tell you a little bit more about How To before we jump in today's episode. So How To Graphic Design is a show that is here on Adobe Live every Tuesday. You can request your topic. I have some topics lined up, but you can request your topic by sending me your request here. So head on iamkladi.com/how-to. You'll be able to tell me what you want to learn. So far, people just give me information regarding their favorite apps. But if there is a project coming, maybe you got a client, maybe you want me to, go over specific retouching technique, Photoshop, Illustrator, how to make vector art, how to hide part of an image, how to create gradients, whatever you want to learn in graphic design, or, how to graphic design. Actually, we're going to be diving in some graphic design basics real soon in one of these episodes coming up. But please let me know. And also, if you want to, you can give me your social link so I can give you a shout out and say hi during this wonderful time together. Also here, you can see all the previous episodes. So if there is anything in particular, you can either search on YouTube or simply browse here, and you'll be able to access each single one of this episode and watch it again. And many of them are connected to the freebies. So there is usually a ton of content coming up. Remove background, that is something that is actually connected to my reels. I'll go to that in a second. Let me jump into the correct internet from my laptop. Don't worry, just a different laptop that I'm using for the stream. I just want to make sure that we go fast here as well with these images. So more tutorials here. As I said, at Adobe Live, we're here together having fun, relaxing, learning. You can grab a cup of coffee, learn together with me, experiment. Today we're going to be working in Illustrator, so you might want to go ahead and get Illustrator open. But also we are here to relax, to have a chat, to learn together. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat and this hour together to explore. Any question is welcome. And also, if you are someone who likes a little bit more of a sharper and quick way of learning new tips, I'm doing something with my team here. So big shout out at Jamie, that is my video editor. We work very closely. We are creating lots of these reels. So those are 1-minute tutorials there on my Instagram, where you can explore different techniques, how to create neon effects, extract a color palette, remove background, style transfer, layer comps, mockups, so much, everything in 1 minute. So go ahead and join me on Instagram as well. So you can get maybe a little bit fast content if that's what you like. If you like to relax and have fun, Adobe Live is definitely the place where you can take advantage of all of these things together. So let's go ahead and jump into, as I was saying, in my resources here, those are, you can see some previous episode of how to, they come with templates. So each episode will have a link also to all this free stuff. This is all free for you in order to get started, of course, when you participate and when you watch the stream on a replay in your own time. Very last thing before we jump into Illustrator, I want to give a big shout out because it's that time of the year. Adobe Max is coming up, so make sure to go ahead and register. This year Adobe Max is hybrid. That means that we're gonna have a live version on in LA, so Los Angeles. I was gonna say Las Vegas. It's gonna be live in LA, and I'm gonna be there with 3 different sessions. I have a session in InDesign, a session in Photoshop and Illustrator, and a wonderful Adobe Live in photography directly from LA. But also I've already put together a session that is online regarding animation in Photoshop. So much fun. And by the way, it's free for everybody. So make sure to register now. If you go into the speaker, I have the honor to be one of the featured speakers. So here we have all of these luminaries and friends and amazing people, and you'll find yours truly. So if you click on there on my name, you'll be able at the bottom to find all my classes. Register. Remember, the one that is online is for free. I'm gonna be there at the chat as well, so we're gonna have that point to meet up as well. And also, besides me, beyond me, Adobe Max is just mind-blowing. So I really strongly recommend, if you cannot participate to the live one, which will be amazing, to come and see me and meet you live, just make sure to go ahead and check the online one. But enough chit chat for now. Let's go ahead and start to have fun with our patterns. I'm just gonna go and have a look at the chat to see what is going on. Umakern is saying it's like fall decided to kick summer to the curb. Temperatures dropping so fast over here. Umakron, where are you based? Same here. Like, especially this evening was so cold. Bliss is saying I got the full blast on the 80s today. Oh wow. AC too. So lucky. Crazy weather for sure. Everybody's saying hello. Fantastic. Okay, I love to see everybody saying hi. Annika, lovely to see you. Don't forget that Annika is coming up with a stream in InDesign, so stay tuned for our stream later on. But it's time to get started. Big intro today. So many things to do. Now it's time to work. We have 1 hour together. Please do not forget that I'm looking at the chat. So if you have any question, please use the chat. April, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining in from Florida, Netherlands. It's still hot here. Oh, wow. Amazing, Penny. I'm so jealous. By the way, I'm going to be hitting Canada in November. If there is anyone, I know Annika is in Canada. If there is anyone else in Canada, I'm going to go to Toronto in particular. Let me know if you want to grab a coffee. I look forward to discover and to learn more about Canada. Okay, so hopefully by now, if you're working in with me, you already opened your Illustrator. If you haven't downloaded Illustrator, you can, and you may be a beginner, you can head on the Adobe website, or just simply Google Adobe Illustrator and you will have access to a free trial. So you can just give it a go together. Here we're going to click on a new file, and when you create a new file or a new document, the new document window will pop up. In this document, it's very important, as I say all the time, to understand which is the final output, the final purpose of your file. Are we going to be creating something that is for web? Are we going to be creating something that is going to be for print? It's very important to understand what is the final output in order to create a document that is fit for its purpose. So if we select print, let me go ahead and zoom out. If we select print, you will see that Illustrator will change the document presets and details to fit a document that is ready to be printed. That means that we're going to have our unit in millimeters. Our color mode will be CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow. K stands for black. Key colors in printing. Raster effect is 300 pixel per inch, or dot per inch, which is the raster effect standard in the printing industry, at least for a normal format. Larger format usually have also larger raster effect. if we change and we head into a web production, real quick, Illustrator will change those details. And in fact, the units will swap real quick into pixels instead of inches or millimeters. And you can change the sizes, of course, of your canvas and your artboard. The color mode in this case is RGB. So we have the additive red, green, and blue color mode, which is the typical color mode for screen, standard, PPI, pixel per inch resolution. That means how many pixels are set in 1 inch. It's 72. If you are in particular producing someone that you know that will be displayed on mobile screen retina display, then the usual standard is 150. So remember, 72, that is your standard for screen. 150 accommodates retina display. 300 minimum if you are looking to create a piece for print. Color mode will be CMYK for print. So if your pattern is a pattern that you will use maybe for some packaging, for a sticker, anything like that, make sure to select the right option. In this case, I'm going to be putting my pattern on maybe on my Instagram. At the moment, I'm just working a lot on screen digital design. Therefore, I will definitely go ahead and select web. Steve is saying, love it when mama visits Kladi. Oh, actually, Steve, my mom is actually behind me. I wish you guys could see behind my screen, but I'm in my studio. I have a studio which is outside my house in a different building, but I literally came back last night, landed 4 in the morning, and I brought my parents with me because it's their wedding anniversary and it's my dad's 76th birthday. He's gonna kill me for saying it, but I'm celebrating them. So I was in Italy. Someone said they saw me on a boat. Yes, when I'm in Italy, I do live on a boat, the Kladi boat. You can go and check it out. I think it's still on my Instagram somewhere. But I brought my parents with me. So Julie is actually watching from the building behind me. They are here in the UK. Perfect. So let's go ahead. We selected our web. It's time to set our artboard. Now, when we create a pattern, at least at the very beginning, setting the initial artboard is crucial. First of all, we want to create a tile, a square tile to get started. So I'm just going to go ahead and just to make it simple, I'm going to choose a size of 800 by 800 pixels. Just like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and click. Maybe we can just go ahead and click on create for now. So you will see that we have our artboard that comes up. By the way, my workspace is so messy, and that's the reality of life. When I work, stuff gets messy, but we have, if you don't know it, a way to clean up, especially because I want my workspace to look like your workspace, so you can feel comfortable while we're learning together. You can always head to the workspace switcher, which is an icon located on top of the option bar, just at the very top right of the workspace in Illustrator. Here, you will be able to click on the workspace switcher. You can create your personal workspace. By the way, in the chat, if you do have if you want to learn how to create your personalized workspace, let me know. I've done it other times, so I'm just going to jump it for now, but I'm going to keep my eyes on the chat. So if you do want to see that, I can take 5 minutes today during the stream to do it. In this case, I'm going to go ahead. I select my I am Kladi. If you want to see how the standard is definitely the essential workspace, and things still looks messy because my panels were all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and still click on the workspace. So first I switch to the one which is the essential, and then I go and select reset essentials. By clicking on reset essential, I'm going to zoom out. Everything gets nice and clean. So if you ever work with your team, maybe you have an art director, maybe you're working and your client is coming to visit and you don't want to look messy, don't be afraid, first of all, because it gets messy when you work. So that's totally normal. You just witness mine as soon as I open it. But in one click, you can reset it. So all the panels go back and they look wonderful. Oh, my mom. My mom is saying I'm in UK for the Queen's funeral, invited as a guest of honor by King Charles. We pay our respect. I'm also a British citizen right now. We were very saddened of the news of the Queen, but my mom wish she was invited. She wasn't invited. She's just been very cheeky. Steve, she's not. Absolutely not real. Please ignore her. Please ignore her. Okay, fantastic. April is saying, I would love to know how to create a workspace. Okay, so before we move forward, let me show that real quick. Let me know in the chat, by the way. Just put a hands up or just put a sticker, put whatever you want if you want to learn as well how to create a workspace. I know that there is like a little bit of a delay, but maybe just like a little hands up or a little heart, whatever you want. Just a sticker to make me understand that we have many people that want to do that real quick. In the meantime, I'm going to grab a quick glass of water. And actually, since I'm here, I'm going to give a quick shout out to this friend of mine, Creative Pro 2022. This was an event that I was into in Washington, D.C. They're actually doing an event right now online. It's called the Illustrator Summit. So if you Google the Illustrator Summit by Creative Pro Network, you will see top instructor giving amazing tutorials in Illustrator. Fantastic. So yeah, we have a few people, they're giving us the hands up. We want to learn how to create a workspace. Fantastic. We can do that. That's the beauty of the live. Okay, so in order to create a workspace, very, very simple. I'm going to take 2 minutes and then we're going to jump into the patterns. If you select on the window menu, that is the place where all the panels live. So if you're looking for a panel, and if you ever see any of my stream or any other of my fellow streamer session or live, and you do not find the panel that you're talking about, run to the window top menu. That is the home where all the panels live. So in this case, let's say that we're going to be working with maybe, oops, I didn't want that. Maybe we want to work with some 3D materials. And then I want to work with the appearance panel. Appearance panel is a wonderful panel that really helps you out to take care of all the properties that you apply to any object that you create. Then we want the layers panel. Then something else. We definitely want the properties panel that allow us to create different things. So some panels are actually getting docked right away. We have layers, we have libraries. Let's add some more. Maybe we want the transparency, and then let's add the align panel as well. Perfect. So you can select as many panels you want. Then any panel comes sometimes with a set of panels. So for example, the align panel comes along with the transform and the pathfinder. If you want to, you can keep them, or because they usually are also part of the properties panel, you can just, select them and then click on the little X to get rid of them. Then you can start docking them by simply clicking and dragging here towards the side, and you can either dock them horizontally, so create different column, or you can just dock them one next to the other. In this case, we're going to create tabs, or you can dock them at the bottom. So here you can see the blue line is going to let us know where everything is heading there. I like to just keep, for example, preferences and properties together. Then here we can also perhaps have the align, the 3Ds at the back. You can always change the way that you are keeping them together. I'm going to go ahead and delete the stroke one, and the review and comment, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that as well. Fantastic. So here I have my libraries, my layers panel, my libraries panel, my transparency panel, appearance, properties, align, and 3D materials at the bottom. So I have created a workspace by adding panel and organizing them in whatever way that I want. Now all I have to do is to go back to that icon that was at the top here of the at the very top right of the app, select switch workspace and click on new workspace over there. Once you select on new workspace, all you'll have to do is to name it, and I'm going to call it This is New so you guys can see it. And I'm going to click on create in order to create this new workspace. And here it is. Now that we head to our workspace switcher, you have the opportunity to have different workspace. I created a few tests, perhaps while I was doing another session. So you can always delete them by click on manage workspace. I know that I have a few, for example, for sure, this is to delete. It's something that I've created a while ago. You can just click on the bin and you can delete it. I'm going to also delete the test and then click on OK. So if by any chance now that you've created your neat workspace, you're going to start working and everything gets messy again, well, don't worry. You can always add back to the workspace switcher and select, now you've selected your this is new or whatever you want to call it. Just go ahead and make sure to select reset. And by doing so, everything will be back organized together. So I hope you enjoyed this. I think that this is one of those basic tips which is really, really important to understand in order to facilitate your workflow, because the app is there, but you really wanted to get it out of the way so you can create. And this is the timing when which you're going to start creating, in fact. So let me go ahead back to essentials. I'm going to go ahead to my I am Kladi, because those are the tools that I use all the time. I'm going to reset it so it looks all nice and organized. We have our swatches panel and we're ready to create our pattern. So I'm going to start. We have like over half an hour. Welcome that everybody that that is joining now. April say awesome. Thank you. You're very, very welcome. Does it save my previous work? So April, the workspace is got nothing to do with your artwork, but it stays there. So it becomes part of your Illustrator. So you're basically changing some preferences, in this case, the look and positioning of your panels and your tools inside Illustrator, and is always there. So if I now, let's go ahead and save this document. It is independent from the document. So I'm going to go ahead and save this document. I'm just going to save it on my computer. I'm going to call it pattern, how to pattern, and just save it on my desktop just to be real quick there. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this document, press Command N or Control N if you're working on a Windows machine, and just open a document for print, just whatever size. It doesn't really matter. I'm just going to click on Create. You can see here from the workspace switcher that this is new, is there. So this is completely independent of your document. I want to close this document and bring back our 800 by 800 artboard that we created with our how-to pattern. Here it is. Fantastic. So hopefully we'll open up. Now, it is very important that you remember the size of your artboard. If by any chance you forgot it, you can also head on your properties panel, which probably is not here. I'm here chatting about the workspace and then I'm missing one of the most important panels. Here it is. The properties panel. Let's go ahead and dock it here on the side. And if you go ahead and select the artboard tool, which is located at the bottom of the toolbar, just over there, just it looks like this. Let me see if I can select it there. Perfect. So this is the artboard tool. You will be able to select the artboard. And as I said, it's very important to select the artboard. You can also access it by using the shortcut Shift O that will allow you to enter the artboard tool. You will see that automatically here you have selected the width and height of your artboard, but also if you press the enter or return key while you are working with your artboard, so with your artboard selected, here you have a few things. So you can name your artboard. I'm going to call this one pattern 01. And then you can also, if you wish, change the preset. So the size, you can have access to different sizes here. iPhone size, iPad, Google Pixel and Surface and what's not and what's more. But as I was saying, it's very important when create a pattern to start with a square tile. Bro. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And then what I'm going to do here while I still have my artboard tool selected is to create another artboard, which I'm going to go ahead and click and drag there. And I'm going to click on return. I'm going to call this artboard work in progress. So this artboard is going to be there just sitting, progress, and click on OK. It doesn't really matter the size. I'm just going to use this artboard as a little place where I can simply just dump different graphics, and I'm going to save it. Of course, you can always resize an artboard also by clicking and dragging the corner of its bounding box. Brilliant. Now it's time to start to bring some of the assets that we want for our graphics. And perhaps a suggestion, since I'm here to give you the best practices, is to give some room around our little square. By the way, if you're wondering how am I swapping between entering the artboard tool and exiting, is the letter V. V goes back to the selection tool, which automatically switches you off from the artboard tool. Shift O or the little button located there at the top, at the bottom of the toolbar, in order to enter the and select the artboard tool. I got distracted because I saw our lovely Sean in the chat. Sean, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining. I haven't seen you in ages, so thank you so much. April say, Carol, now you seem to save your work. Yes, so workspace and work are two different things. Steve, correct, doesn't affect your file and your work. Perfect. You can even add or subtract tools on your own workspace. Correct. Amazing. So if you want to, or if you have any other questions, remember chat behance.net/live. That is the place. But also, if you're already watching on Behance, don't forget that we have a brand new, exciting YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe on Adobe Live on YouTube. So many talented speakers and so many talented videos. So much fun. So make sure to join us here. Okay, so this is the time in which we are starting to create our assets. So we can create whatever we want. Sean giving me a lot of hearts. I love that. I love when you guys put like the little icons in the chat. It really like spices me up when I'm doing the live here. So what I'm gonna do here is to start creating different assets. I'm gonna start from, for example, something very simple, clicking on a shape and creating a little square. Now hold the shift key if you want to make a square, because that's the rectangle tool. By holding the shift key, you will make sure that this is actually proportional, so that it will change it from a rectangle. Look at that, shift, and that becomes a square. Then we can go ahead and press the L tool, or just simply click and hold in order to have the ellipse tool. And here same, hold the shift tool in order to create a circle. I'm just creating some very basic shapes. Something else that we can do maybe is to go ahead and have a little segment. So we just have a little line over there. And then what else? Maybe we can make a zigzag line. That's quite fun. So I'm going to go ahead and select the segment, then hold the Option key. That will be the Alt key if you're working on a window machine. And then you can drag in order to create a copy. By the way, you can use this pattern with any sort of stuff. I'm just using basic shapes in order to get us started. And then you can take it as far as you want with your illustrations. Now what I'm going to do here is to click and drag in order to select all these shapes. Otherwise, you can use that Command A or Control A if you're working on a window machine in order to select all the items present inside your artboard. And then from the stroke, I'm going to go ahead and let me zoom in. So I'm inside the Properties panel under the Appearance options. I'm going to go ahead and make the stroke a little bit larger. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the stroke and give it a rounded cap, a rounded corner, just because I like everything to be rounded. Perfect. But what I'm going to do here is change this stroke and give it some movement, maybe create a zigzag. So all you have to do is to select your stroke, head to Effects, and under Effects, you will be able to distort and transform. And here you have the option automatically to create a zigzag. Again, this is completely up to you. You can do whatever you want. Here from the zigzag panel, you can choose the different option of the size of the zigzag. So how deep they go, or how much you want the depth of the zigzag, how many ridges you want per segment. You can make it as funky as you want. Also, you can choose for the corner to be smooth. In this case, we have a little wiggly line, or also corner. Let me show you something. I'm going to go ahead and choose corner for now. And then I told you before that the Appearance panel is a very important panel, and I'm going to move it up there. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a duplicate of this little segment. Those are like tips inside the entire tutorial here for the pattern. If you want to edit now and maybe have one curved one, instead of doing the same thing again, with the Appearance panel, all I did here first of all is to select all the Alt Option key and drag to create a copy. And then if you want to select it, you do not want to go to Effect and then Distort and Transform again, because otherwise it will apply another effect. But if you head to Windows and make sure that your Appearance panel is inside your workspace, check this out. Here you have the opportunity to access your effect. So FX stands for effect. If you click on the little icon, this is an effect that is applied to our stroke, which is our zigzag distortion and transformation. You can double click on this effect in order to open its panel. And here we can simply choose the corner from sharp to smooth and select on OK. So real quick, we simply duplicate it, and thanks to the Appearance panel, we create a transformation to our line, which I think is pretty amazing and pretty fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and create some more movement, because so far we just have strokes. I'm just going to go ahead and create a copy. Here, in this case, if you see the fill and stroke control, which are located at the bottom of the toolbar, we know that we have just simply white fill with a black stroke. I'm just going to go ahead and start to delete the stroke for this other one and start to apply some cool colors. Maybe blue. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my stroke is set to none. And what I'm trying to do here, I don't know, remember, someone was talking about 80s. So I kind of got inspired to do kind of like, maybe we can do some sort of 80s vibe. So what I'm doing here is making sure that these shapes have a transparent feel. So here with the fill selected inside the fill and stroke control, you want to select this little icon there to apply none, so to make it transparent, or also you can simply press that / and you will see that the fill will become transparent, so we can see whatever is underneath. And maybe we can do the same here with the circle. You can create a little copy. Again, all I'm doing is to drag, click and drag. You can use the eyedropper tool in order to eyedrop the same color, or double click on the fill and then use the color picker in order to choose whatever color you want. And that's it for now. Maybe we can actually do the same for the stroke. So maybe we can just create like a little squiggly of a different color. Squiggly, is that even a word? Is it even a word? In this case though, we're gonna go ahead and change the color of the stroke. So make sure that from your fill and stroke, the stroke is on the foreground. So you go ahead and select stroke. Here it is. By the way, you can do that as well from our wonderful appearance panel. I'm gonna show you for the other one. Let's go ahead and create maybe like a green color, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit close because otherwise it just looks confusing. Let's do something like that, so it's just fun. I like to keep the black on top just so it gives a little bit more contrast, but I also want to make sure that the strokes, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect the item that I do not want inside our selection. We make the stroke a little bit thicker. I think that looks a little bit more fun. Perfect. So we're going to do the same here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate in order to create another squiggly line. If you want to bring it to the back so you have your first line to the top, the black one, you can use the command that will be Control on a Windows, Shift left bracket, that brings it to the back. And as I said, you can change the appearance directly from the appearance panel. Select on the little color there from the stroke, and you can just choose another color. Brilliant. All we'll have to do here is maybe to do the same effect for our little stroke. Maybe we can have like a cyan color, maybe something like that. Yeah, that looks fun enough. So we have some elements, and as I said, I'm just creating something kind of like on an 80 theme. Someone mentioned it in the chat. Sean is saying, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Very funny. A blend between the two might be interesting. Oh, a blend between the two? I like where we're going with this. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So if you don't know what we're talking about, I feel like I'm throwing so many different techniques, but I hope you guys enjoy it before we get to the actual pattern. Let's go ahead and let me show you what a blend is, because we'll mention it. Carol, I cannot ignore a blend. So in order to create a blend between two objects, if you select two different vectors, Illustrator will create automatically a transition, a blend. You can choose a blend usually between colors in order to create gradient, but also with text. At the moment, I'm just going to use these two squiggly lines just to give you a taste of it. Then we're going to jump into the pattern, because I'm sure like everybody's like, hey, when are we going to do this pattern now? And then maybe we can go in depth and maybe use some text with a blend, because blend is something that one of the two that I really, really like in Illustrator. So here, click and drag to select them both. And then this is the blend tool. It's actually located towards the bottom of the tool panel. And look at that, it looks so cool. So if you select it and then you head over the object, you can click on the first object. And then if you hover on the other one, you will have a little plus that comes up. And of course, it creates a middle color. So between an orange and a black, it adds a one step, which is the brown. But making sure that your blend object is selected, you can double click in order to find the options. You can specify the steps. So in this case, you can have as many steps as you want. Look at that. And the fun doesn't end here. If you're not too happy with this color, you can always double click to enter the isolation mode and change the color of your original blends. Boom, and here it is. In just a second, we created something really, really cool. And by the way, this is always live. You can always enter the blend and double click on it, and you can change the number of the steps. So, you know, depending what is the effect that you're going for. But the other thing is that you can also change the the position. So for example, if I double click to enter the isolation mode, I can move one or both or whatever you want. And because, as we said, we can also access it from the appearance panel. Let's see, if I double click here inside the blend content, I can go ahead and change the zigzag and change it to corner. Let me see if I can do it just to one of these two elements. So I'm gonna double click on it. Let's see if we can do that. I don't know if we can do that, but it's nice to try, because I'm sure you can just change this one into corner. So look at that. Not only we have this transition of color, we're also going from a sharp to, I feel like maybe if we do the opposite, so I have the smooth on the yellow and then use the purple to change it to the corner is more visible. Yes, perfect. Look how cool is that? How awesome is that? Thank you so much, Carol, for mentioning the blend tool. I think it was definitely worth it to give a little bit of a demo. We could use that as well for our pattern, maybe, but let's keep with the theme, just because I feel like I spent so much time creating like all these 80 vibe. We definitely can use that blend for something else. But what I will do now, since I have this little object, I'm just going to click and drag on both of them in order to group them. I'm just going to give a little bit of space here between these two lines. I feel there is space between all object there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing the same. So I'm just simply clicking and dragging and grouping them, just so whenever I can click and drag to move them around, it will just be so much easier, so I can grab them both at once, because they're part of the same selection. So I'm gonna start with the square. As I say, this is my little, work in progress little bin where I keep all my shapes. So whenever I move anything out of it, you always wanna select the Alt Option key in order to create a copy. So Alt Option key and drag to start to bring this element inside our pattern. Just like so, look at that. It's already looking cool. Perfect, and you know what? I'm just gonna leave it like that. Let me just move it around a little. And again, as you can see, I'm totally going by eye. I'm not doing anything specific there. I'm just gonna move this down maybe, and let's see what happens. Now, the most important thing of the pattern technique that I wanna show you is in the word, and I'm probably gonna leave this in the middle for now. I'm just gonna leave it out. I'm just gonna worry about the sides. Is the word seamless. Now let's look at what happened. Whenever we create a pattern, we want to make sure that whatever is hanging and is bleeding out the corner of our little frame, of our little tile, will repeat exactly the same place. So before knowing this trick, oh my gosh, what I used to do is like create a rectangle, try to measure exactly whatever was. Oops, let's see, hopefully we have a rectangle coming up. Feel everything froze on me. There we go, we're ready to go. I'm gonna make sure that I save this project. So I'm gonna click and drag. So what I used to do in the past is to usually create rectangles, and they used to be pink rectangles. I don't know for what reason they were pink, but they used to be pink. And I used to like click and drag and then make a copy and make sure that that was exactly the right place. So I knew that whatever was on top was at the bottom, blah, blah, blah. It takes too long. We don't want to do that. There is a smarter way of working, and I'm going to show you in a second. All you have to do is to select anything that is hanging at the top. So maybe we can have this one like going vertical. Just have this one going a little crazy like that. So we have two items here at the top. So we select anything that is at the top, and you can start at the top of the side. Anything that is hanging out, it doesn't really matter. And you want to move them. How do you move them? By right clicking on it and selecting transform. From transform, you have access to the move option. Here it is, move. And now the reason why I mentioned, by the way, don't worry, this is just a little preview that is creating a movement, which we don't want. Let's set that to 0 to now, so it doesn't move. Make sure that your preview is active. And what I mentioned before was that at the very beginning of the stream, and then I say in the middle of the stream as well, you really want to make sure that you know the size of your artboard. So remember, select the artboard tool located at the bottom of the toolbar, or access the Shift-O or access it by pressing the Shift or shortcut, or just simply by clicking on the artboard tool and then adding to that properties panel. Now we know that this specific artboard was 800 pixels by 800 pixels. And you really need to know that, because we're going to use this measure in order to move our overhanging assets to the bottom of minus 800 pixels, vertically in this case. By doing so, if we move it of 800 pixels, oops, you will see that automatically, let me zoom out so you can see it. So by the way, anytime that you're moving down, you need to remember, and by the way, let's see if we can, we're going to do it in a second. I'm going to add some rulers. The rulers in Illustrator, the origin is up here. So everything that is to the right goes from 0 to 1 and plus. Oops, I need to move on the other side because I'm mirrored here. So, so the origin is here, and everything that moves to the side, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a positive number. Everything that goes backward will be a negative number. And the same from top to bottom. So the top is 0 and everything to the bottom is a positive number. And let me show you what I mean. Here is 800. If I use minus 800, in this case, perhaps if I needed to move something from the bottom to the top, look at this. If I click on preview, let me zoom out. Oops, maybe we won't be able to see it. Let me zoom out so we can see a little bit more. And again, select and transform and move. Here we go. If we select minus 800, you will see that instead of moving to the top, instead of moving to the bottom, it will go up. So remember, to go up is a negative value, to go down is a positive value, to move to the right is a positive value, to move to the left is a negative value. So in this case, we want to move to the bottom, therefore 800. And in this case, you will see that here we have this little preview. Now, another very important thing, you do not want to click on OK, because if you click on OK, you simply move your assets. You want to click on copy. By clicking on copy, you will move a copy of the element that you've selected. So let's go ahead and select copy, and boom, here it is. We have a perfect split of our graphics. And now here we have a little interaction, which we may like or not. In particular, at the moment, I just want to keep some space. So this is the place where I will probably start moving things around there. And I'm just gonna leave that out for a second. Oops, where did it go? Let's leave it out for a second so I can just focus on these two sides. I'm just going to do the same. In this case, I'm going to click and drag in order to select the item on the left. By the way, it doesn't matter if you start from the top, from the bottom, from the left, from the right, whatever you want. Right click on it and transform. Let me zoom out so we can see the entire menu. Here it is, transform and move. By the way, if you want to access the shortcut, which is Shift, Control or Command M, you might want to group your elements. So if you group them, Shift Command M open up the move tool right away. You just need to have a group of item for the move tool to work as a shortcut. 0 pixels, 0 pixels to bring them back to position. In this case, we're going to move to the right. So we're going to move horizontally. Again, we know that the size of the artboard is 800. We're going to select 800. Make sure that the preview is there. Perfect. So we can see that the preview is moving our little object around the canvas. And again, as I said before, make sure to select on copy rather than OK to create a copy. Now, if you have this little thing touching, it happens all the time. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is that you make sure that you select both the top and the bottom elements, because they're already set to perfection. So you can actually, in fact, group them, and then you can just simply move them at the same time. And now this little squiggly line, I always tend to leave something here that you can use then just like so to fill the middle. So I only tend to do either top and left, so you only have to work positive numbers, or you can just do, bottom and right, whatever you want. Just remember, if you're moving the top elements, you want to go ahead and move vertically on a positive number, which will be the number of the size of your little tile. Left to right, positive number, in this case 800 pixels. For those of you who are just joining us, I use the number 800 simply because that is the size of our artboard. You can work with any sizes you want. That's completely up to you. Just make sure that it's a square. and then we dropped our little item in the middle. Now, before we keep going, I'm gonna go, as you can see, if you can also toggle the visibility of the entire layer of the or items that are inside the layers. For example, here we can hide elements, or you can also lock them. But in the layer, you can also move the layers in order to make sure that you have certain elements that are above, a certain element that are below. And this is so important because when you create a pattern, the way in which you can use it inside a swatches panel is to have a little square that will tell Illustrator that this is the tile that you're considering for your pattern. So press a letter M or head back to your toolbar in order to access the rectangle tool. Again, letter M is the shortcut. And then here I'm going to simply go ahead and intersect the top corner of my square to make sure that everything is exactly touching the origin of my little tile, and click once to have the rectangle options. We know it, I'll probably say it already 400 times, 800, or probably 800 times. 800 by 800 is the size of our square. Make sure to click on OK in order to create this style. Now, the very most important thing here, in order to create a pattern with a transparent background, is to have both our fill and the stroke set to none. I can't believe we have 5 minutes. Gotta run. So let's go ahead and let's make sure that these little rectangle that we created, and you can make it yellow if it helps at the beginning, and then take the fill in just a second. When you head to the layers, can you see that this is at the very top? You want to select it and either use the shortcut Command Shift left bracket, which will bring it to the very bottom, or simply you can click and drag and make sure that it's at the very bottom of your stack. Now I can go ahead and select the fill from the control, fill and stroke control, and press the little / to make it transparent, to set the fill to none. Now you can click and drag over all these elements of our pattern and drag them inside our swatches panel. So if I now go ahead and with the rectangle tool selected, I click and drag and create a rectangle which I can fill with any color, I can also fill our rectangle with our brand new pattern. We're going to make it bigger so then we can simply go ahead and have a look at our super cool pattern. But what if you do want a background? By the way, this is a completely transparent. Can you see? You can overlay it wherever you want. And you can always also access it and create more. But let me show you first how to create the background. Now, if you want to create a background, you always still have to have the transparent at the very bottom. So can you see here where there is a little rectangle inside of the layers panel? What I tend to do to make it easy, I'll just simply click and drag in the rectangle at the bottom to create a copy by using the little plus located at the bottom of the layers panel. I'm going to click and drag to create a brand new rectangle. Make sure that the one that is above is selected. Can you see we have a little square there to signal that we have that selected, and then we give it a color. Let's see if we can give it like a little bit of a light. I kind of like the green, but we're losing the other green. Maybe yellow, maybe like a paler yellow. I know we're running out of time. Shouldn't really be choosing. That's my favorite color. Let's make it that. That's really 80. Perfect. So if you go ahead, and by the way, you can change this color as many times as you want, and also, which is super cool option, you can always select the artboard tool and create duplicate of these little tiles in order to create maybe some different things here. So maybe we can select our little rectangle and go back to that tile color that I really liked. And maybe here we can change our circle to something different, like something yellow, and maybe here as well, just to give it a little bit of a different look. I'm just gonna make it red, and maybe here we can have this one light gray or something like that. And all we're left to do, remember, here we'll always have the color on top and the one at the bottom. All you gotta do here is to simply click and drag in order to drop them inside your swatches panel. So for those of you who are not seeing it, because there are panels, they're all there messy at the moment, this is my swatches panel, and all I've done is dragged my swatches in the swatches panel. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new rectangle, press the letter M to create your rectangle, and then all you're left to do is to click on the different pattern in order to preview the pattern, and you can apply this pattern whatever you want. Actually, I have another tip, super important tip. I've seen pros failing at this, so make sure to stay tuned. I know that we just have like 3 minutes, but definitely worth it. Whenever you're exporting these patterns, let's pretend that I'm gonna export this for whatever, a digital card or a background for a mailer or something from a website. You can select the artboard tool and then click on it in order to create an artboard that will fit your object. To export your artboard, a lot of people just simply go ahead and export or use that option Command D, which is, the usual export for web. When you use tile pattern, because there is this invisible line that we've created with our rectangle, what you want to do is to head to Illustrator, File, and Export, and we're going to go to the Save for Web Legacy. Here we have this very important tool, which is called optimization. So let's go ahead and generating the optimized version. You want to make sure that you have the art optimized selection, not to none, not to type. You want to make sure that is set to art optimized. And oops, what is going on here? Let's make sure that we have selected the right little artboard there. Let's make sure that we do have an artboard number 5. Perfect, selected. File, export for web legacy. Let's go ahead and make sure that we have it there. It's already showing us the optimize. I'm really fighting with time here. I just want to make sure that everything shows up. If we go ahead and select Art Optimize and we click on Save and we go ahead and we select our desktop, we select Image Only, Auto Pattern. I'm not sure why it's not displaying it for now. I don't know if it's my computer that is running a little slow, or let me go ahead and check. But the main trick over there is, I don't know why my computer is running so slow right now. Let's see if we find it. Oh, it took the entire artboard. Anyway, what I wanted to show you, which is very important, is that the pattern doesn't have any line. Now, the problem with the majority of people that export pattern for web is that they do tend to have the line coming through. If you do not want to have the line coming through, you will have to make sure that you do have, oops, let me go ahead and close this, that you optimize your art for web. Also, let's see what's going on here. I think I spotted an issue with this particular pattern in particular. It looks like it's broken there. Well, that means that we are missing the little rectangle at the bottom. So make sure to go ahead and press Command C, Command F, and at the very bottom here you want to make sure to have that transparent rectangle there. And let's try again, because I want to make sure that everything works before we say goodbye. So if we select it, here it is. So look at the difference. Actually, this is very important. If we are missing, or if your pattern looks broken, just like so, is because it's missing that little transparent rectangle that it has to be at the bottom. Look at the difference. This is without, so we literally have everything cropped out, and this is with our perimeter set by the transparent rectangle. I hope this was useful for exporting. Don't forget that Art Optimized is the way of saving your artboard whenever you're creating a pattern, in order to avoid the little tile look. I hope this was useful. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Don't forget that you have Annika coming up with a brand new episode of InDesign. Let's InDesign. We're going to create an interactive magazine today, so make sure to stay tuned. Don't forget to tune in also at how to send me your project requests. Sign up for Max. If you head to the speaker page, you can find me on the main headliner, and then you can find all my sessions over there: Adobe Live, Photoshop, Illustrator, and so much more fun. And don't forget to submit your how-to request on my website, imkladi.com/how-to. Unfortunately, it's time to say goodbye. You can always reach out to me at Instagram at IamKladi. And now it's time to go and grab a glass of water and then run back for Annika working in InDesign here at the wonderful Adobe Live. Thank you so much, everybody. As usual, a massive pleasure and fun to be here with you. I will catch you next Tuesday. Bye bye for now. Ciao.